fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rhythm, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get full!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Just Send It for the third to last round of the season, where we have a car and track combination that is going to test these drivers' racecraft to its limit. It's the 34 Ford Legends car, which is powered by a Yamaha 1250cc engine with enormous rear tyres. The circuit? Well, it's a very familiar Daytona road course, apart from the fact it's not familiar at all. It's the motorbike road course variant, which even sees the drivers racing through the spectators' parking area with parked cars and RVs lining the road. It's going to be an interesting one, and I cannot wait to see how this pans out. I'm Bo Albert, and alongside me for tonight is none other than Mr. Lachlan Mansell with Jay Kennedy working the cameras. But Lockie, before we dig into tonight's racing action, there was a rather sad announcement made earlier this week regarding the future of Just Send It.
Indeed there was. Good evening to you, Bo. Good evening, everybody. And the announcement was that the Just Send It series is going to be concluding at the end of this season. So 3 rounds of Just Send It action to go. And like you say, it is a bit sad because I think it's been the series that has introduced a lot of people to the sim racing scene, particularly in the early days last year and also during the lockdown period where we had a number of quite high-profile drivers from the real world taking part. So it will be a bit sad that Just Senators finishing up. It's the first series that I commentated as far as my sim racing commentary endeavours go. So yeah, I'm going to be sad to see this series wrapping up.
No, absolutely. And of course, for those that did miss the announcement, it was that this would be the last season of Just Sender, but there is still the potential for one-off events throughout the year. So it's farewell for now, but perhaps not forever. We could still see a couple of special events with random combinations to end the remaining part of the year as well. So it should be good to see. But I have actually seen the car and track list for all the upcoming rounds. And boy, we are going to end this series on quite a high. But for now, it is the Legends car at the Daytona motorbike course. And we're on board at the moment with your championship leader, who is in a commanding position, not by sliding the car around, but in the points tally. He just keeps running away with his championship lead, Lockie.
Indeed he does. He's had 5 race victories so far this season, including 4 on the trot. The last 4 rounds, Brenton Hobson has been victorious, and he comes into this round in a very, very commanding position in the points table, keeping in mind that we are actually running an official point score for Just Send it this season. His closest challenger is Ryan Wood, and Wood is pretty much the only driver who's capable of defeating Brenton Hobson for the championship over these last 3 rounds. Let's have a bit of a talk about the cars, because the Legend cars, they are a vehicle that we see racing in real life here in Australia. And the unique thing about the Legend cars is that they're one of the few vehicles that you can race in both speedways, so on the dirt, and also on tarmac road courses. And in fact, there's a round of the Legend Cars Australia series taking place at Wakefield Park this weekend in the real world.
Well, they're just fantastic cars to race, aren't they? They're very lightweight, they're relatively cheap, they've got all kinds of grip levels that are just constantly changing. The car loves to move around, it dances, it oversteers, it twists you on the brakes. It's a real driver's car where they have to maximize everything they're doing, every brake input, every throttle application to really get the most out of it. And that's why I think the drivers do love this car, why it's popular in the real world, and it does have a great following in Australia as well. Because the racing it produces, which we're going to see today, as you can see on screen right now, you can get some brilliant drag racing. And that photo finish we just saw across the line there between, I believe that's Hayden Veld and Brenton Hobson. We could see plenty of that as well, because the draft effect in these cars is very strong as well.
Another interesting bit of trivia for you, Bo. The Legend car is the only type of car that I've driven in both real life and on the iRacing platform. John Dennehy, who owns Legend Cars Australia, was kind enough to let me take one for a spin at Wakefield Park a year or so ago. And I've also competed in one of the few iRacing series that I've actually competed in was the Legend Cars Australia E-Series a bit earlier in the year during the lockdown period as well. And I have to say that the way the cars handle on the iRacing platform is very similar to how they handle in real life. And that is because of their short wheelbase, narrow track, they are very twitchy. So you'll see the cars getting a bit sideways on corners, or rotating altogether, as we see there, and you'll see plenty of steering inputs, plenty of opposite lock needing to be applied by the drivers to try and keep the cars pointing in a straight line.
Well, I've got to ask the question, because I know a lot of people watching would be asking as well. How did you go in the car? Was it a big experience for you? And of course, how did you perform overall in terms of lap times?
It was a learning experience for me in terms of lap time. Certainly not what I would describe as front running, that was for sure. But it was an interesting experience, and it was a lot of fun.
Fantastic. So there we go. Wow, that was... Yep, let's just move on from that, as the number 7 car probably won't take part in the race because its chassis is now completely cooked. And that might just be our pole sitter, I believe, setting a very strong pace in qualifying was Ryan Wood, who, like you said, the only person that can really challenge Brenton Hobson for this championship. And in qualifying, he absolutely put his best foot forward, because he does take the pole position. A great effort there. Alongside him on the front row will be Blake Purdy, Brenton Hobson from 3rd, Matt Lapino, and Christian Lindbaum, your top 5. Steve Jansen, always a competitive driver, in position number 6, ahead of Eddie Beswick, Hayden Veld, Brian Vanderwacker from 9th, and Caleb Hydes, your top 10.
Back to Harrison Dengay in 11th, Byron Phillips in 12th, back to Justin Howe, Emerson Harvey, Aidan Brand, Rhys Cohen, Daniel Yeaman, good to see him back tonight. The ever-consistent Mario Vartanian out of 18th position, Tyler Howard 19th, and Jonathan Bykoff completing your top 20.
From 21st on the grid will be Joel Shiger-Vazira, ahead of Jane Russell, Lockie Lachlan Cowie, Christina Nazarick, Jake Bonham, Simon Black, Matthew Hansford-Taylor, Kay Donnelly, Tim Mitchell, and Ian Quast. And we might just get the remaining drivers scrolling across your screen because this is going to be an interesting start. It's banked. Put the power down and the cars will slide. So who gets the jump? As you can see, all kinds of drivers squirming around, trying to get traction. Almost some spins in the mid-pack as well. Already 3 wide, just meters away from the starting line of the race. It's been brilliant for many drivers, none other than Ryan Wood, who holds the lead into turn number 1 ahead of Brenton Hobson. The 2 title protagonists, 1 and 2 already. The cars filing through turn number 1, which then sneaks through the S's section, left, right, and left again, before going into a big hairpin contact there for 2 of our drivers. And 1 will go spinning, almost a rejoin into the field, and just send it. Chaos ensues once again at turn number 4. Plenty of drivers around. Some still escaping, though, apart from 1 or 2 spinners that sadly collected a couple more. For your front pack, it was relatively clean.
That was Caleb Hines who copped a hit there into the right-hand, or a section of the circuit where the cars do get very unsettled, and he went rotating. A few other drivers were able to avoid his car, but some were not. And we're getting into the section of the circuit now where slipstreaming will start to become important. Good to get a good run out of the left-hander, and then find your way back onto the oval section of the circuit, which takes you up to the bus stop chicane, as we see a few more battles and incidents happening a bit further back in the pack. And one of the things that you mentioned as we see camera dance going for a spin is the fact that there are spectator RVs parked on the side of the road. If I was in one of those RVs right now, I'd be pretty nervous because you're not really sure that a car is not going to come flying in your window.
I'm pretty sure Cam Dance just paid a visit to someone he doesn't even know there, unfortunately, but Justin Howes paid a visit to the inside wall in a big way, and lots of damage to his car. So unlucky for him there, as our race leader has managed to skip away just a little bit, but 0.8 of a second is not going to get you out of draft range. And Hobbo, you can see there, will be closing and closing on this oval section, and it's not going to be too much, actually. I'm actually surprised. I thought that the draft would have been a little more powerful. But at the moment, Hobbo is at the average of about 2 kilometers an hour faster. 2 kilometers an hour is not going to get you onto the back of the car in front all too quickly. So Hobbo really has to get a good lap in here, or else he faces the risk of Ryan Wood skipping away out front.
Yeah, he sort of almost has fallen out of slipstream range there, hasn't he, Brenton Hobson? So you need to be a bit closer than that to get the full use of the draft. When Brian Vanderwacker was qualifying earlier on, I was watching his progress, and they are running quite tall gear ratios tonight with the fixed setup. So you only use the top 4 gear, the first 4 gears. You don't actually get into 5th gear at any stage during the lap. So the cars are still accelerating and gradually gathering speed in 4th gear, as we see a big drift for Jacob Ulrich, but in the end he goes spinning off the circuit. One driver who didn't get such a good start, Blake Purdy from the front row of the grid, he's fallen back down into 6th position. He's just made his way past Brian Vanderwacker.
Yeah, he certainly has, but that's not ideal for Blake Purdy. Of course, we did see that big oversteer moment right off the start when you try to put the power down on an oval. Of course, the car will slip and slide a little bit, and you can see another driver making their return to Just Send It, which is Mitch McLeod, after a couple of weeks away from the series, and he's up 17 spots from the start of the race, but so is Tom Wilkinson, as we see one driver in the background go for a bit of a spin. That's Matt Lapino, who's also returning after a couple of weeks off. So plenty of drivers really a fan of the Legends and are making a return specifically for this event. As we go back up to the front of the order, looking at Christian Lindbaum at the moment, who's just Christian Lindbaum trying to close in on Brenton Hobson in front. But again, the draft really isn't all too powerful. So for these drivers, if they're going to make a pass, they've got to get a little bit creative on the infield.
Indeed, I think it's probably going to be the infield section where we see most of the overtaking manoeuvres made. And for Mitchell McLeod, he didn't get a lap in qualifying, so he had to start at the rear of the field. He's made pretty good progress up the order, considering coming from the rear of the field up to 15th place already. He'll need to make sure he gets his pit strategy right tonight. Mitchell McLeod made a bit of an error with his calculations at Oran Park last week in the TCR car and ended up running out of fuel right at the end of the race. As we ride on board with Christian Lindbaum, he's putting the pressure on our championship leader, Brenton Hobson.
Absolutely. You can see the really tight line that Christian Lindbaum there was taking, and it's actually allowed him to get quite a nice run on the exit as well. So definitely looking all the more confident in the car at the moment in this early stage of the race. We're only working lap 3. We're expecting around 21 laps in this race, and Hobbo is going to have to drive a little bit defensive here because Lindbaum is just on all the corner exits, just gaining a little bit of time on the 88 car, and it's getting really, really obvious into this infield section where Hobbo just doesn't get the car into the corner as nicely and compromises his exits quite a lot. Lindbaum there taking a very different racing line. We'll see how that pans out. Of course, what this section is all about is getting the best run you can onto the oval. And again, I think the exit speed there is with Lindbaum. So this is where we're going to get our first true glimpse of how good the slipstream is, because if he's out of draft range, then we've got no hope at all in this race. But around the outside at the bus stop chicane is not going to work, so settle back in. And again, just line yourself up for the exit. You can see Hobbo really understeering at the mid-corner there and struggling to make the lines work as he would like. But now onto the oval section. What can Lindbaum do? The gap stands at 0.2 seconds at... 0.2 seconds. That's the weirdest way I've ever phrased 0.2 of a second I think I've ever said. But at the moment, Hobbo having to really cling on to this spot because here comes Lindbaum. And where do they decide to go? Is it inside? Is it outside? If I was Brenton Hobson, I wouldn't fight this all too much at the moment, Lockie, because Lindbaum definitely looking pacey.
And behind them, Steve Jansen and Eddie Beswick battling for position as well. They're squabbling over 5th and 6th position. We go to our overhead helicopter shot, and Hobson has moved it to the inside. Lindbaum will try and go the long way round. Deep under brakes for Christian Lindbaum, too deep in fact. Runs out of road on the exit and just manages to gather it up before he rotates. But he's lost a good couple of seconds there to Brenton Hobson, who he was challenging for position.
1.7 seconds is the gap from first to second now. Ryan Wood with the fastest lap of the race beginning to check out just a little bit as I'm seeing a couple of drivers now onto pit lane as well. So a couple of drivers either coming into a bit of grief on the circuit or maybe doing something with fuel strategy. I'm not quite sure what the state of play in this race will be. But of course, these cars typically not too thirsty. They are only a motorbike engine, so they may be okay. As Eddie Beswick finds himself in a battle at the moment, trying to get past, Blake Purdy getting past Eddie Beswick. So that's a little spot change on the infield section as these three, including Steve Jansen, all very, very close at the moment. A nice little trio of cars as Blake Purdy continues to try and make a bit of redemption after his poor start. Finds his way now into 4th place after dropping all the way down to 6th from the front row of the grid.
So Brian and I, when we were doing the calculations, we worked out that you're probably going to need to take on about 8 litres of fuel during your pit stop to be able to make it through to the checkered flag. There was a bit of discussion as well about whether it would be worth taking a set of tyres at the pit stop, because these are a car that you do get a gain from putting on a fresh set of tyres, but it is quite a long tyre change in the pit stop, so we don't think that many people will take that option just because you lose a bit too much time.
Well, absolutely. We'll see if any drivers do elect to do it. If anyone's going to change tyres, Cam Dance might be one to try it, because I think he's just gone on flat spotted a whole bunch of his tyres there. And I know he hasn't done much practice, but I'm not going to let you off lightly, Cam. That's no good. That's not how you're meant to drive these cars. As Eddie Beswick gets very defensive against Steve Jansen, who ducks to the inside. And it's one of our first real position changes on the oval there, as Eddie Beswick had a horrible run. So a good pass there from Jansen, finds himself up another spot, as Emerson Harvey is one of the latest people to dive on into the pit lane. Rhys Cohen dives in as well. So a couple of drivers thinking strategy, because again, another point we've not touched upon. We don't know if there's going to be a safety car in this race. At any point, a safety car could be thrown, and we could get some drama thrown in if drivers have not pitted, and they could get caught out as well. But Christian Lindbaum has now found his way back to the front of Brenton Hobson as Mario Vartanian and Aiden Brand find themselves in a good little fight through a turn number 4 on the road course. And a position swap there, so a great effort there as Aiden Brand finds his way past.
And Blake Purdy doing a good job as well. So he's now made it past both Steve Jansen and Eddie Beswick. So Blake Purdy after losing a bit of time at the start. And
Hobbo's just had a big slide and lost ground now to Lindbaum, who's got past them. Blake Purdy, who you were just mentioning, is all over the back of your championship leader, almost in the grass there, trying to find a way past. Hobbo struggling with rear tyres, and that is going to compromise his exit dearly. And he has also now lost the inside into the bus stop chicane. So all of a sudden, Brenton Hobson losing a lot of ground.
And Blake Purdy does get up the inside as well. So Hobson now falls out of the top 3 positions. This is all working to the advantage of Ryan Wood, who now has a 3.2 second lead. Remember, he is Brenton Hobson's closest challenger in terms of the championship. As we see the moment there for Brenton Hobson, just getting out into the grey area there, as we would describe at the marbles, and we've got a safety car on the circuit as well. So, wow, this is going to really jumble up the order because none of our front-running contenders have taken a pit stop yet. So the safety car comes out, and the best car that's done a pit stop at the moment is Justin Howe, who is all the way down in position number 22. None of the other key runners have stopped yet. This is really going to jumble up the order.
Justin Howe, though, with a very, very fast pit stop compared to a lot of other drivers. So I almost wonder if that was a penalty of some kind for him. I believe our first driver who has taken an actual pit stop may be Emerson Harvey there with a pit stop of 23 seconds. That's where we're seeing a lot of the drivers' pit stops times being. So Emerson Harvey, we saw him pit just a lap ago, may have played himself in beautifully there. Hayden Veld, Rhys Cohen, Daniel Yeaman, and Jonathan Bykoff could end up becoming your top 5 if everyone has to dive into pit lane when the pit lane opens up under this caution period. But this is a big curveball for a lot of people, including Ryan Wood, because that brilliant lead that he had built up that was nearing 4 seconds, well, is 4.1, is now completely evaporated. And Christian Lindbom, who has been showing some very strong pace, getting to within 0.04 of a second of the fastest lap of the race, is now going to be all over the back of one of your title protagonists. So Christian Lindbom could be in a very good spot here, but Emerson Harvey that has played a beautiful strategy call that may pay out big.
And for Ryan Wood, as I said, closest challengers of Brenton Hobson in the championship. It's absolutely crucial for him to win tonight if he is to keep himself in title contention with a couple of rounds to go after this one. Remembering that at the end of our 12-round series, all of the drivers will be dropping their worst 4 results of the season. So it's each driver's best 8 results that count towards the championship. A good opportunity to look at our championship standings coming into tonight. And this is with 2 rounds dropped from each driver's point score. Brenton Hobson, your leader, with an advantage of 22 points over Ryan Wood. There are 40 points on offer for a race victory. Mitchell McLeod is 3rd in the standings, ahead of Steve Jansen, who's had some really, really good results, been on the podium the last 3 rounds in a row. In fact, Emerson Harvey in position 5, Kobe Williams 6th, and then it's Tyson McAvoy, Mario Vartanian, Daniel Yeaman, and Christian Lindbom completing your top 10 in the standings as the field comes under the control of our Porsche Cayman safety car, and the pit lane is now open, so we're going to see all of our race leaders diving in for their pit stops.
And what is one of the easiest places on the circuit to make up positions? I'd argue it's probably the pit lane. If you can get a good in-lap or a good entry into your pit box, make sure you've got the fuel calculations as small as possible. You've got it absolutely refined to the decimal point. That will save you time, and if you can get a good exit as well, then maybe, just maybe, you can find yourself gaining a whole bunch of time in the pit stop phase. Emerson Harvey there does take the eventual lead, and I'm talking about who can get a good pit stop. Ryan Wood has not. Who has? The 88 Brenton Hobson, the first car out of pit lane.
Yeah, great stop for Brenton Hobson. It's going to take just a bit of time for the field to update and cleanse itself here and give us an idea about who has gained or lost positions in the pit stop phase. But the cars that got their stops out of the way before the safety car was deployed, they're the ones who are looking pretty good here. There's really only 4 of them. Emerson Harvey, Hayden Veld, Rhys Cohen, and Daniel Yeaman, the drivers who were able to complete their pit stops before the safety car came out. They now occupy the top 4 positions on the racetrack. Brenton Hobson, like you said, an excellent net gain there. His stationary time was only 12.4 seconds compared to 15.7 for Christian Lindbom and 17.6 for Ryan Wood. A slow pit stop for Wood has cost him some valuable track position.
Absolutely. There's so many factors into building a race-winning performance, and unfortunately, the pit lane phase was not up to scratch for Ryan Wood. His pace has been phenomenal. He's led from the front the entire way, but 1 caution, 1 pit stop, and he's found himself on the back foot. Now, the interesting thing for me, of course, is that our top 4 at the moment have taken their pit stop but are slightly out of sequence, but can still make it to the end of the race. They just pitted slightly early before the safety car. Brenton Hobson now is going to be the first of the cars who pitted just then. Christian Lindbom, out of all the drivers that were racing at the front of the field before that safety car, Christian was really the driver applying a lot of pressure and punching at some really fast laps compared to some others. So for Christian Lindbom, who's now ahead of Ryan Wood, is he able to get past Brenton Hobson again, work his way through the top 4, and is he maybe, out of all the title protagonists at the moment, able to snatch it away from all of them?
Steve Jansen and Eddie Beswick, a couple of drivers who lost out quite badly in that pit stop phase as well. Remember, they were battling on the fringe of the top 5. They're both now outside the top 10 in positions 11 and 13 respectively. So it's not gone too well for Steve Jansen or Eddie Beswick. Conversely, Aidan Brand, he was one of the winners of the pit stop shuffle. He has made up a bunch of positions. So good stop for Aidan Brand. He's up into 8th spot as the safety car comes into pit lane, and we're back racing in Just Send It. It's season 10, week 5, and it's Emerson Harvey, our race leader, who has control of the field.
And it's Christian Lindbom with a great restart, already ahead of Brenton Hobson, who has just slowed down a little bit. I don't know what that was, and Brenton Hobson just slowing down there has actually allowed Ryan Wood to challenge around the outside. Wasn't able to do anything with it there, but Hobbo very, very cautious on the restart, which is led away by Emerson Harvey. Haydenveld in second, Rhys Cohen in third, and Daniel Yeaman is in fourth. But for how long? Christian Lindbom trying, almost sliding his way into the side of Daniel Yeaman. And now Hobbo on the offensive. What can he do up the inside into this next right-hander? That'd be a big dive if he tried it. And he does try it. He hits Christian Lindbom, and around they both go. Hobbo is stopped as well. So out of nowhere, it looked horrible for Ryan Wood. The safety car cost him his lead. But now Hobbo on my timing screen dumped to 27th place. Now 24th as more chaos ensues. This is big for the championship. Now still out front is the driver of Emerson Harvey. Then it's Haydenveld, Rhys Cohen, Yeaman, and then top 5, Ryan Wood. Replay on screen, and Hobbo. That was not ideal.
And I'll tell you what, Ryan Wood was so lucky not to get caught up in that incident as well. Went on a bit further down the road with Blake Purdy getting involved in a contretemps with Mario Vartanian. And then behind them, there are several other cars involved. So good awareness and some good evasive action, but a few drivers just not able to get out of the way. Blake Purdy finding himself in all sorts of trouble there with the car stopped in front of him. He was swerving left, he was swerving right. In the end, he had nowhere to go. But in terms of the championship, you're absolutely right. Brenton Hobson had the opportunity to wrap up the championship tonight. If results went his way, he now finds himself outside the points. So a prime opportunity for Ryan Wood to make up some ground in the standings, as we see Brian Vanderwacker and Aidan Brand squabbling over positions 6 and 7. Brian Vanderwacker actually managed to get ahead of Aidan Brand, and there might be a bit of bump drafting here from Matt Lupino as well as they head down into the first corner.
Yeah, all very, very close racing. You can see Vanderwacker very late on the brakes, so was Aidan Brand. And it looks like they've all managed to somewhat settle themselves out. We'll see if anything happens in towards turn number 4 as Aidan Brand got an okay run. But I don't think he's going to try anything, although he positions his car to the inside. Thinks about it, can't quite do anything with it though, as there is a position swap for Ryan Wood, who slides up for the inside of Daniel Yeaman, now up into 4th place, capitalizing on others' mistakes and working his way forward. Next target is Rhys Cohen, who's up the inside of Haydenveld. Crossover from Haydenveld, and those two have just managed to sort their positions out in the exact same order as they started, but they've cost themselves a bunch of time to Ryan Wood, who closes up even more as Haydenveld again goes a little bit wide, maybe not entirely comfortable with the car, as Caleb Hydes is even more uncomfortable.
We could actually have a first-time Just Send winner tonight as well, because Emerson Harvey, Hayden Veld and Rhys Cohen, and none of those 3 drivers have ever won a Just Send It race. So if any of those 3 can see the checkered flag first tonight, we will have a new winner in the Just Send It series.
We absolutely will, but Ryan Wood doesn't care about new winners. He wants to be another old winner because he is applying a lot of pressure at the moment to Rhys Cohen, who was looking around the outside into the bus stop, couldn't quite do it, but he's got a great run out of the bus stop chicane, but the issue is with this gearing that he's not able to really close up enough, and you can see the second he goes to the outside, he just begins losing ground, such as the pace differential in this car being almost nothing. You can see 183 kilometers an hour for Rhys Cohen and only 185 for Ryan Wood. The overspeed isn't there, but Hayden Veld moves to the right, gives a bit of slipstream to Ryan Wood, almost touching each other down the front straight at 189. What happens at turn number 1? How brave on the brakes are they all? The answer is Rhys Cohen is very brave, almost thought about the inside of Hayden Veld, but look at Ryan Wood pushing now the number 10 car through turn number 1. He is getting all kinds of aggressive. He's not waiting around for other opportunities. He's going to make an opportunity at turn number 4 up the inside. Apex made. That is as easy as you like. You have to work hard for it.
He certainly did, but Ryan Wood's on the march. He will know that Brenton Hobson's down and out because he was right behind Hobson when he had that incident with Lindbom. So he will know that he has to maximise the damage now in terms of the championship. He has to capitalise on this opportunity. Nothing less than first place is going to be good enough for Ryan Wood tonight. He's got 2 more spots left to go.
And if you are wondering where Brenton Hobson is, the answer is he's around the outside and contact! Hobbo's off again! Hobbo having a nightmare of a race. The second I bring him up on commentary and across the road and almost another spin as well. But he will have a slowdown penalty after that. There was contact and he's going to go again, rotating the 88. Hobbo. Now, there, of course, we can't get too excited because there are drop rounds in this series, and this is just looking like a draw. Even more contact for Hobbo before that even happened. So he is just in the wars today. When it rains, it pours, and it is pouring bad right now for Hobbo 88. I even joked a little bit earlier on the Just Send announcement post that if Brenton Hobson can have a bit of chaos and make things interesting, but he's making things a bit too interesting for himself and running into a lot of grief today.
It's been a very un-Brenton Hobson-like performance tonight. He's been a hallmark, or his hallmark has been consistency in this season of Just Send It as we go back to a battle that's happening for 5th place at the moment. Daniel Yeaman, one of the drivers to benefit from that safety car, who comes under pressure from 6th placed Brian Vanderwacker, and they're both together closing in on Rhys Cohen. So it's now a 3-way contest for position 4. Cohen defending to the inside. Yeaman trying to go the long way round. Brian Vanderwacker just sitting behind both of them and trying to decide what the best option is in terms of where he positions his car. And I reckon Yeaman might have just about got the spot, but he's going to be on the wrong side of the road when they get down to turn number 4. Cohen back down the inside. And Vanderwacker potentially going to get a couple of spots here for the price of one as he lanes on both of them. Oh, and contact. And is that Rhys Cohen, is it?
Yep.
Yes, to get speared off the circuit across the front of Daniel Yeaman's car. And indeed, Brian Vanderwacker's been the one to capitalise on that. He's now up to position 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Those two are scrapping so hard, and Brian Vanderwacker just sat back and said, you guys go at it, I'm going to bide my time, and indeed he did, and he reaped the rewards as well. So unfortunate for Daniel Yeaman and Rhys Cohen, but nonetheless, they can continue on in this race, albeit a little more damage than before. But at the moment, out front, it is still Emerson Harvey leading this race, but the gap is closing to Ryan Wood on this lap alone. You can see it is now down to just 0.7 of a second, as we're currently on board with Aiden Brand looking back at Steve Jansen. We'll see what happens in this little battle as well, as Steve Jansen thinks about it into the bus stop chicane. But the issue is, these cars have such a slow average speed that actually there's no braking required into the bus stop chicane. But I tell you what, that's not the best exit I've ever seen from Aiden Brand, and Steve Jansen may have a chance now working NASCAR turn number 3, just closing and closing. But we'll see if it's the same story once again. The second Steve Jansen goes to pull out, he won't be able to get any kind of gain, but in fact, he's going to decide, no, I'm not going to go to the outside, I'm just going to stay right behind and try and push around NASCAR turn number 4 onto the front straight, though he decides to make his move and just moment by moment inching his way closer to the back of the 42 car. But the issue for him now is the gap on the inside is now being filled by Matt Lapino, who may be thinking 2 for 1 down the bottom of the apron, 3 wide into 1. A bit of contact, the 42 cars around. Aiden Brand goes spinning at turn number 1, and Matt Lapino, it indeed was a 2 for 1 special at the supermarket, and he absolutely cashed out.
He was piggy in the middle there as well, wasn't he? In a bit of an awkward position. Meanwhile, ahead of those two, we had Brian Vanderwacker and Daniel Yeaman battling. So Vanderwacker had got ahead of Yeaman on the previous lap. Yeaman was trying to go all the way around the outside of him through turn number 1. That wasn't the way to go. And then we had Aidan Brand getting fired off the road altogether. Here it is again. He was in the middle of a couple of other cars, all crossed up, backwards and off into the concrete apron. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, it's only 0.2 of a second separating our race leader Emerson Harvey from second place Ryan Wood, who will now believe that he can well and truly win this race.
And it was a battle into turn number 5, but it doesn't matter because for the second time tonight, the safety car is deployed. Now, what do these drivers do? Of course, if you're at the front of the field, the decision is very, very simple. You've already made your pit stop, your fuel to the end. Don't even think about it for a second. But if you are Brenton Hobson in position 28, a long way down, Lockie, you referenced earlier, if you take tyres in this car, there is time and lap time to be found. Brenton Hobson, he's well and truly out of position. Surely it's worth a stab.
He's got nothing to lose, does he? At the moment, he's not going to get any championship points in 28th because points only get awarded to the top 20 finishers. So you're not going to lose any positions. If I'm Brenton Hobson, I'm coming in and I'm bolting on a fresh set of tyres. As we see, Aidan Brand gone again. So this was a separate incident that he's done all on his own. And that was actually under safety car conditions, that incident there for Aidan Brand, who's now fallen all the way back to 17th position. What this safety car has also done is it's given a couple of the other drivers that were involved in incidents, I'm talking about the likes of Blake Purdy and Christian Lindbom, it's got them back into the game as well. Currently in 8th and 9th position, we know that both of them have got pretty decent pace, so when we get a restart, they're going to be hunting down the cars ahead of them.
Yep, but they're not going to have much time to do it. At this stage, as we're looking at it right now, we're looking at about 6.5 laps to go. But as the safety car trundles around at a very slow speed, we're looking probably closer and maybe 4 or 5 laps to go when the race eventually goes green. So on this restart, if you're going to make some moves, you've got to make it fast. And we know Just Send It. And there's always a little bit of chaos here, left, right, and center. So on this restart, we could see a couple more pile-ups, maybe a car spin or two. And can Brenton Hobson sneak some points that way? Can maybe someone like Blake Purdy, who we know has so much speed, make their way through? Christian Lindbom, of course, setting fastest laps earlier in the race as well. What can these drivers do that are slightly out of position on this restart? It's one last chance for them to try and win in the Legends car here at the Daytona Motorbike layout. And I'm really interested for this restart because there's so many variables that can go on here. Of course, Ryan Wood was looking like he was really challenging for the race lead on Emerson Harvey before that safety car came out. In fact, he was side by side at one point. But now he's got pressure from behind from the likes of Hayden Veld, Brian Vanderwacker in 4th, and a couple of others as well. So this is going to be a very, very spicy restart.
Brian Vanderwacker is on for potentially looking at another podium. He was ecstatic to get his first Just Send It podium at Oran Park last week, and he's only a position away from repeating it this week as well. Just something's happened behind the safety car as well. I have to say, it's taking the field quite a while to actually catch up to the safety car. It's going to be virtually an entire lap. In fact, more than a lap before they actually catch up to the iRacing safety car. So it has taken them quite some time to get up to the back of the safety car. But I reckon something's happened to Daniel Yeaman as well, because he was in 5th spot, but I noticed on the timing that he fell back to 8th, and now he's back up to 6th. So something a bit weird there, and he has now actually gone through to 5th position. So I'm wondering if he's had some sort of incident a bit earlier on when the safety car was deployed. And here we go, the strategy coming into play. A couple of drivers diving into the pits. Caleb Hydes is in, Mitchell McLeod is in as well. He was in 10th position at the time. And Brenton Hobson, surprisingly, has elected to stay on the racetrack. So no tyres for Brenton Hobson. I have to say that surprises me that he hasn't taken the option of bolting on a fresh set of tyres.
No, absolutely. I really thought he would have. I've done a bit of detective work and worked out what has happened to Mr. Daniel Yeaman. And actually, under safety car, Harrison Dengate, who was a lap down, actually spun at turn number 4, right in front of Brian Vanderwacker, who had nowhere to go. Brian's unfortunately hit Harrison Dengate, and then as his car's rebounded off, Daniel Yeaman had nowhere to go and has then hit Brian Vanderwacker as well. So If we actually have a look at Brian Vanderwacker on his left rear quarter panel, you're going to see quite a bit of damage to that car. So although he is in a very good spot at the moment in terms of position, I do worry just a little bit about the health of his car.
Yeah, it could be that he's going to be having to nurse some bent steering and possibly a lack of top-end speed for the remainder of this race, which is going to make him a bit vulnerable to the cars behind. So, a bit unfortunate there for Brian Vanderwacker getting caught up in a tangle with a lapped car, particularly frustrating that it happened under safety car conditions. But the field compressing up nicely behind the safety car. We'll get a race start very, very shortly, and we'll have just under 10 minutes of racing remaining here at the Daytona circuit in week number 10, season number 5 of the Just Send It series.
So lap times are around the 2-minute mark at their fastest. 10 minutes to go. We've got 5 laps remaining in the third last round of the Just Send It season. It's going to be a good one, and who is going to come out on top? It's Emerson Harvey trying to snatch away a victory, but Ryan Wood knows how crucial these points are in second. Hayden Veld wants a podium position in Just Send It. Brian Vanderwacker, Daniel Yeaman, your top 5 on the restart. The iRacing Porsche pace car is going to pull off the road as we are currently traveling at a stunning 40 kilometers an hour. That was a very cheeky restart by every stretch of the imagination, really bunching the field up and causing a bit of contact between a few others as it is green flag in the air, but I'm still seeing the pace car on the track. Why is the pace car still on the track? It's only pulling off now. That was okay, sure, whatever. As the field files into turn number 1, Brian Vanderwacker up the inside for position number 3, trying to squeeze Hayden Veld on the exit. That is as close as you will ever see between those two, but position done for Brian Vanderwacker into turn number 4. There's no offensive apart from Daniel Yeaman, who clatters Hayden Veld, and contact between many others. It's 5 wide on the corner exit as they try and sort themselves out. Now bottlenecking in towards turn number 5. We've seen cars go side by side here before. How's it pan out? Cam Dance up the inside, backs out of it. And I think for the front few, they might just sort themselves out through 5 and 6. So a great effort there from all involved. But for the back of the field, it wasn't quite so clean as we see Harrison Dengate got spun around again. Brenton Hobson up to 18th already. He's making big progress. I think we saw Blake Purdy off the road there as well. And he's going to make almost even more contact there with Daniel Yeaman on the exit side by side. That will go heading onto the oval section. There is contact. Big slide for Yeaman. Gathers it all up. And onto the back straight they will go. But let's move up to the race lead because Ryan Wood is making contact with Emerson Harvey. Big wiggle there from Emerson Harvey, who loses the race lead. But Ryan Wood is on a terrible line through the bus stop chicane. Can he gather it all up? I think he has, and he's taken the lead away, but it wasn't clean. What can Emerson Harvey do to retaliate?
Wow, what a race start. Big winner out of all of that, Christian Lindbaum. He anticipated all of the drama beautifully and picked his way through it. Blake Purdy also did a pretty good job, but unfortunately locked up all on his own, which was what allowed Lindbaum to get down the inside. Brian Vanderwacker back up into a podium place, despite the fact that he's nursing a car with a little bit of damage on it. He said to me before going racing tonight that if he wins the race tonight, he will run down the straight naked. So I'm a little bit worried right now.
Well, do we want him to win?
No, not really.
No. So I don't want to put the commentator's curse on, but don't win. Please spin. But still, Emerson Harvey at the moment is not letting this race win go. He is attacking Ryan Wood, just not able to find a way past at the moment. Look at the field behind, all kinds of battle. Blake Purdy door banging with Justin Howe there as they work their way into turn number 4. Even more contact, a bump and run. And actually, you know what? I'm from a rallycross background, so I'm going to say that was perfectly executed and a great pass there from Justin Howe, using the bumpers to excellent use as Aiden Brand is using the bumpers for a bit of donuts.
And Brenton Hobson up to 15th position. So Hobson, who was 28th at the race start, has made up 13 positions. He's back inside the points. He's minimising the damage that Ryan Wood is able to inflict upon him in the championship with every position that he gains.
Yep, and Justin Howe, who did have that spot gained, sadly ran wide and lost it all again. So Blake Purdy does eventually get that spot and will hold on to it for the time being. But Justin Howe will continue applying the pressure with Steve Jansen and Eddie Beswick behind. A good little scrap happening there as there is still plenty going on in your front few. Cam Dance only signed up for this race at the very last moment, and out of nowhere has found himself fighting for a top 5 somehow. So Cam Dance, one of the more successful drivers from New Zealand, is really applying the pressure right now and trying to find a way past Matt Lapino, who is holding on for dear life. But what a drive from Cam Dance too.
Yeah, this is a good battle between them, and fantastic performance from Cameron Dance, who's made up 26 positions in this race from where he started. So, been a great charge up through the field. Of course, sometimes we do hear Cameron Dance's dulcet tones here on the SimSpeed TV network, calling some of the action on Just Centred as Christian Lindbaum makes the move on Brian van der Wacker for third position. That was fairly easily done as a result of the fact that van der Wacker's car with that damage will be a bit down on straight line performance. Lindbaum was able to make that move fairly comfortably, and van der Wacker's now got to fall back into the clutches of Cameron Dance and also Matt Lapino. So van der Wacker starting to bleed positions now as a result of being down on straight line speed in that wounded legend car.
Yeah, he's really fighting at the moment, isn't he? But he's about to have a big fight towards turn number 4. Late on the brakes is Matt Lapino. Only just pulls it up, and Cam Dance decides he might have a little bit of a shot up the inside as well. Almost pulled it off, but not quite. Still side by side out of turn number 4. And Brian van der Wacker going to have to try and go the long way around the outside here at turn number 5. Dance late on the brakes, and that is job done there as the Kiwi finds himself up another spot. Just quickly as well, I've been notified that Mitchell McLeod, when he did take tyres in that pit stop on the last safety car, has been charging on the restart. He's now up a massive amount of spots since the race actually started. He got to 17th at the end of the first lap and is already up to 13th place from that first lap as well. So Mitch McLeod really flying at the moment.
And he's the fastest driver on the racetrack at the moment. Lap time for him last time around 2:01.2, which was half a second quicker than our race leader Ryan Wood. So Mitchell McLeod absolutely flying at the moment. That decision to take fresh tyres at the pit stop could well be one to pay dividends for our most capped driver in Just Centred history.
Absolutely, but back up to this battle at the moment for position number 5, because Cam Dance with a beautiful run, and he's trying to get past Matt Lapino now, almost pushing his way down the oval section. You can see looking to the right, looking to the left, there's no real way through, and he can just stare at the rear bull bar on Matt Lapino's car. He is actually in 4th place now, so Cam has his top 5, but can he manage to get it into a 4th place and maybe even a podium, because Christian Lindbaum is there as well. But at the moment, Cam Dance can only sit and wait and see what happens in towards turn number 1. You know Cam Dance is going to try something, but which way does he go? Does he go below the apron? Does he go for the outside? And he's learnt from the major series. He avoids the apron, but now what can he do? Under brakes into turn number 1. It's all very conservative. Does he get the exit? Kind of is the answer. We'll see what he can do in towards turn number 4. The overspeed is there, but it would be a very big dive from Cam Dance if he went for it, and he elects not to. Although Matt Lapino just overshoots a little bit, almost provides the opportunity.
This is a terrific battle, isn't it? Just on the fringe of the top 5, and off the road goes Blake Purdy. He'd been making up some spots, but he's had a bit of a moment there, and he's going to fall back in behind Brenton Hobson. So that's happened at turn number 4, I think. So we'll have a look at this one. Has he done this on his own? No, he's been helped around big time by the number 78 car, and Brian van der Wacker's actually got back a couple of those spots that he lost there. So Justin Howe was there making contact with Blake Purdy.
Yeah, plenty of chaos in the late stages of this race, but you can only expect it as we're looking at 2 laps to go in this race. On board with Mitch McLeod, again the fastest car on track, last lap around. And if you were the car in front of Eddie Beswick, who's sliding around on the defensive, trying to hold position from Brian van der Wacker, or keep his place gained on Brian van der Wacker on this lap, that is not the way to do it. Sideways is not the answer as they go side by side almost into the bus stop chicane. Steve Jansen has to do a big checkup. Watch out for Mitch McLeod on fresh tyres, hunting his way through the field. You can see a great exit there for him. But again, just going to get stuck in this little situation on the oval. And, well, that was a very different kind of situation there. As you can see, actually, Eddie Beswick and Justin Howe just hugging the apron at the moment, making sure they're taking the shortest distance possible. And you won't actually get a penalty for that. And such is the speed around the corners that you won't get any time loss either. It is actually a time gain, as Steve Jansen is gaining positions right now. But for how much longer? Because Mitch McLeod, with a lot of speed in a straight line as well. So it's not just fresh tyres. He's going Gonna have to go the long way around the outside at turn number 1. What can Janssen do? What can McLeod do on fresh rubber? It's gonna get all very close in towards the braking zone. They're all good at the moment. Tight line taken from Steve Janssen, but a great exit from Mitch McLeod, but he might get held up a little bit from Eddie Beswick, who was...
Brenton Hobson gone. Sorry to cut you off there, Bo, but Brenton Hobson in the back of the shot there at turn number 1 has spun it all on his own, would you believe, having done all of that hard work to find his way back up into what would have been a really good point-scoring position. Oh, no, he's actually had contact, so it was Blake Purdy trying to get down the inside, gets into the side of Brenton Hobson and rotates our championship leader back down to 18th position.
3 wide on the exit of turn number 6. McLeod, you've got Beswick and also Steve Janssen. A massive battle happening between these guys at the moment as they're all dancing in towards turn number 7. It was 3 wide on the exit of turn number 6. You just don't see that. A car is spun. Emerson Harvey from second place is gone. And that is a disaster there, as who is going to be our race winner? It's Ryan Wood from Matt Lupino, who is ahead of Cam Dance for a podium right now. Sorry about the timing screens, but Cam Dance on for a podium right now. What can he do after starting near enough last on the grid in this race? It's a big moment on the corner exit from Lupino, and Cam Dance with a brilliant run. It's going to have to be the very, very long way. Also got Christian Lindbaum behind as well. It could be a 3-horse race for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place in this race. So race leader, Ryan Wood. It was a must-win situation, and he has done everything right. He missed out on the first safety car, but he fought back with a vengeance, and it's going to take victory in round number 10. But who is joining him on the podium? It's 3 wide. Lindbaum to the bottom, Lupino in the middle, and I think Lindbaum in a drag race is going to steal 2nd, and Cam Dance is going to be left walking home in position number 4. What a drag race.
Wow, what a finish to the race. We suspected that we might see something like that at the end, and how was the 3-wide battle for 2nd position with Lindbaum snatching it in the very dying stages ahead of Matt Lupino. Cameron Dance just missing out on a podium spot, and still battles going on all the way to the finish a little bit further back in the pack. But with Ryan Wood winning the race and championship leader Brenton Hobson finishing down in 17th, it's game back on in the Just Send It series with 2 rounds to go.
Absolutely. It's hotted up so much more, but look at that. The finish between the 33 and the 15 of Lupino and Lindbaum there. The timing screen is showing 14 hundredths of a second, as you can see there. Well, this screen says 15 hundredths. Thank you, timing screen. But there is no denying it was Ryan Wood who took the checkered flag first. A great effort there ahead of Christian Lindbaum and Matt Lupino, and Cam Dance as well. We'll include him there as your top 4. A great drive from them. Justin Howe will round things off in position number 5, and Mitchell McLeod on fresh tyres drove his way through the field from 10th. Well, he pitted from 10th and then went all the way back and then fought his way through spectacularly to 6th. Steve Janssen in 7th. Brian Vanderwacker fell back to 8th, unfortunately, ahead of Emerson Harvey and Blake Purdy.
Caleb Hines in 11th position ahead of Jonathan Bykoff. Hayden Veld, Daniel Yeaman, who was in the thick of the action tonight. Brenton Hobson, there he is, our championship leader, the big story, all the way down in 15th position, losing some valuable points. Gary Wellman, 16th, back to Tim Mitchell. Mario Vartanian in 18th, then it's Aidan Brand and Tom Wilkinson completing your top 20.
21st goes to Eddie Beswick, who was involved in a lot of chaos in that one. Ian Quass in 22nd, ahead of John Quass in position 23. Matthew Hansford-Taylor in 24th was the last driver on the lead lap. And Kay Donnelly, Tyler Howard, Rhys Cohen, Jake Bonham, Jacob Ulrich, and Christina Nazarick, the top 30, all many laps down. And just to finish it off, Harrison Dentgate, Joel Chikavazira, Simon Black, Jane Russell, Byron Phillips, and Lockie Howe. 36 legends that took to the race in what ended up being an absolute spectacular for Just Send It. Week number 10 has been concluded, and Ryan Wood has laid down a big statement of intent. This championship is not over, and he is ready to attack Brenton Hobson's championship lead with everything he's got. 2 rounds to go, and it is going right down to the wire. On behalf of my co-commentator, Mr. Lockie Mansell, and also a big thank you to Jay Kennedy on the cameras, we will see you all next week for what should be a spectacular week of racing. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?